I want to go into Johnny Depp. So we've heard Amber Heard's team talk about everything they want to talk about. Johnny's a bad person. The jury's wrong, everything. So Johnny Depp's team is going to answer all the questions that Elaine had. So let's go into it and let's see what exactly they are saying. Now, they did 2 shows. They did the Today Show this morning, and they also did Good Morning America. So today, let's start with the Today Show, right? Let's start with the Today Show. So this is Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's lawyer on the Today Show this morning. Speaking out.
Joining us now are Johnny Depp's lawyers, Camille Vasquez and Benjamin Chu. And a quick disclosure, my husband has done consulting work for the Depp legal team, but not in connection with this interview. So with that aside...
See, I like that. Let us know any conflicts. Hey, my husband's done work for this team, so just letting you know.
Let me ask you, did you speak to your client right after the verdict? What was his reaction in the moment?
I think just an overwhelming sense of relief. I was speaking with another friend of ours, a mutual friend of Johnny's and ours, and he said, I haven't seen Johnny smile like that in 6 years.
The weight of the world is off of his shoulders. He's got his life back.
As you well know, the law does not favor a plaintiff like Johnny Depp.
It does not.
In a defamation case like this, the burden is very high, the threshold is high, and he crossed it. Frankly speaking, were you stunned at this victory? Ben?
Well, we had ultimate confidence in Johnny and the jury and the facts of this case, and you can only hope that the jury will see it. And in this case, they did, and the verdict was overwhelmingly in his favor.
I should mention the jury did find Mr. Depp responsible for defamation for one of the statements made by his lawyer. It accused her essentially of staging a scene in furtherance of an abuse.
Now, I do want to stop it here to say one thing. She's right, but if you notice the other media, that what they're going to say is they both won, right? Essentially, you hear a lot of the extreme left-wing media, and those who are still, Amber Heard supporters. They're saying they both won, right? This is a split decision. I think they're going to have to answer that question. Is this really a split decision? Did Amber Heard really win, and did they both win? And I think only a fool would say yes, but they're going to have to answer that.
Hoax. How do you square that finding with the rest of the verdict, Camille?
I think it's just the verdict is overwhelmingly positive for Johnny.
Of course
and it was unanimous. There were 7 people that decided he was defamed.
Amber Heard's attorney was right here the day after the verdict, and she said the jury had not been permitted to see certain evidence that would have bolstered and verified Amber Heard's claims of abuse, in particular therapist notes. What is your response to that? And was there evidence that was suppressed for a valid legal reason that might have made a difference?
I think that.
But I would. They're glad that I'm not there answering this question, right? Because you know what I would have said? I would have said, yeah. The fact that she was arrested for domestic violence for beating her ex-wife. Yes, that's a fact that I think would have helped the jury understand that Amber Heard is not only a liar, but she's an abuser, right? That's something that was suppressed. That's something we could not get in. The fact that she had this history of abusing her intimate partners. That's something we thought was important. But again, let's see what they say. That's how I would have answered the question. It's simple.
That was very disappointing to hear that and to hear her impugn the character of the jury. And the evidence came in that should come in, and the judge was very fair to both sides.
In particular, she cites the UK judgment. As we all know, Johnny Depp sued The Sun, a newspaper in the United Kingdom. He lost that case, the judge finding that claims by the newspaper that he was a wife beater were substantially true. Now, Amber Heard's lawyers say that judgment should have come into this court case.
Wendy.
What say you?
It was a different process, right? And also, Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard in this case were the parties. They had different disclosure obligations. So we disagree. The overwhelming evidence that was presented in this case in Virginia far exceeded what was presented in the UK, and we believe the jury got it right.
As you know, this trial was very closely watched. Social media certainly took off in a way that we've seen high-profile trials before, but this is the social media age. Do you believe the jurors saw any of that, were swayed by any of that?
No, I don't think there's any reason to believe that the jurors violated their oath. And again, that suggestion was disappointing to hear.
Yeah, that's again. Now I do like what Ben was saying. He's saying the 2 times. She suggested the jury violated their oath. She alleged, again, Amber's attorney alleged that the judge did something wrong and not letting evidence come in. So again, the one thing that that is so interesting is look at the difference in the way the professionals are answering the questions, right? They're not throwing the judge under the thing. They're not doing anything. What they're doing is saying, yeah, the jury got it right, and some things get in, some things don't get in. But you don't impugn the jury, right? You don't say that they violated their oath, and there could be ramifications for that, especially when it comes to things like this. She's saying the jury was corrupt. Think about that, people. Elaine was saying the jury, and that's what he's saying. That's disappointing, right? To make it seem like you lost because the jury violated your oath. So they're essentially calling out Elaine for the nonsense.
I mean, Amber Heard's lawyer said so. She said it would have been unavoidable because it's on TikTok, it's on social media. I mean, in the old days, you'd tell the jury before they went out, don't read newspapers, don't watch the evening news. Now it's everywhere.
It is everywhere, but at the same time, they were admonished every single night. And they had a tremendous amount of respect, I think, for the court and the process, and they were doing the best that they could.
Yeah. Support for Johnny Depp online was exponentially greater than for Amber Heard. Just one example on TikTok, the Justice for Amber Heard hashtag has 27 million views. Justice for Johnny Depp, 20 billion. Woo. Heard's attorneys have suggested that perhaps this is because of an orchestrated campaign on behalf of Johnny Depp. Do you know anything about an online campaign on behalf of Johnny Depp?
That is utterly baseless. In fact, very early in the case, the prior Chief Judge White had thrown out a count in the counterclaims that related to that. It was absolutely absurd and baseless.
And you know for a fact that neither he nor his agents nor anyone tried to, in some way, pay for or otherwise encourage this kind of social media activity.
False.
Categorically false.
Why do you think the jury didn't believe her? Because when you look at the verdict, it really comes down to that. Yeah. The issue was, is what she's saying true or false? And by their verdict, they said it's false.
It's categorically false. And not only did they say it was false, they said it was false with malice, right? She intentionally said these false things, right? So I want to see how they answer this question.
Well, my sense is that it had a lot to do with accountability, that Johnny owned his issues.
That's true.
He was very candid about his alcohol and drug issues. He was candid about some unfortunate texts that he wrote. And I think it was a sharp contrast to Ms. Heard, who didn't seem, or at least the jury may have perceived, that she didn't take accountability for anything.
As you know, this has been closely watched, and in the Me Too context, some people have wondered whether there is a larger resonance to this trial, whether it sends a message. Do you see any larger message beyond the case you tried?
No. I mean, frankly, we don't. We're here to talk about the case that we tried, right? We encourage all victims to come forward, have their day in court, which is exactly what happened in this case.
And that, I think, is the key, right? They're trying to say, what's the larger message? But if you notice, on one side, they're saying the larger message is not for victims, it's for women. Women may not believe. But as Camille is saying, there is no larger message here, right? The victim here was Johnny Depp, right? The victim here that needed their day in court was Johnny Depp. And the victim in this case prevailed. The abuser was the one that didn't prevail. Now, what you'll see on other media is they'll switch it. They literally try to switch it and say, well, Amber was the victim and she wasn't believed, and this is going to discourage victims. But if you're a victim, that's not this case. In this case, the victim of Amber Heard's victim, Amber Heard's the abuser. The jury found that Amber Heard was the abuser. Understand that. And in this case, the victim won. In this case, the victim won.
Do you feel confident in your appeal? Ms. Heard does intend to appeal.
We feel very confident that there are no errors that would justify any kind of successful appeal.
And then finally, I have to ask you, not since OJ, perhaps, has the trial been so closely watched and the lawyers become famous people in their own right. What has that been like for you, particularly you, Camille? I think I saw someone on social media get a tattoo of your face on their body, which is weird.
Yeah, people are crazy. People are going crazy.
It's been overwhelming.
Camille's a beautiful woman
and surreal,
now, so.
But to the extent that
and she's smart.
Can encourage young women to stay in school and maybe inspire them to pursue a legal career, then it's all worth it.
Well,
Camille is such a class act. And Ben Chill, this is like looking at casting right now for two. If you were casting a movie and needed 2 lawyers, you got it right here, right? They did a fantastic job. That's a pretty good interview. Pretty good interview. It's sad because part of the story, and I think an interesting part of the story, is that a lot of the media is not calling Johnny Depp the victim because he's a male, and I think that is shameful. It's shameful because it does show a bias. It shows a bias in our society that if these roles were reversed, let's say if Johnny Depp was a female and Amber Heard was a male, we wouldn't be having this type of discussion. But because he is a male, he has to still overcome that. So, and we all see it. I think everybody sees it. We see it in the media and we see all the spin, right? But at the end of the day, the victim here got justice. And that's one thing that people are trying to ignore.